I have a little thought experiment this week. What if the church actually tithed? Yeah, I know. This assumes Christians aren't actually given even 10% to the church. Now, I'm sure none of you watching right now are shocked by this, but what may shock you is how much we are losing just by this one spiritual discipline being neglected. I'm Nathan Collins, bringing you the truth of Christ in a post-truth culture. According to the National Christian Foundation, only 5% of the U.S. tithes, with 80% of Americans only giving 2% of their income. Christians are only giving at 2.5% per capita, while during the Great Depression they gave at 3.3%. Numbers like that can invoke a lot of guilt, which isn't really the point. The larger point is, what could happen if believers were to increase their giving to a minimum of, let's say, 10%? There would be an additional $165 billion for churches to use and distribute. The global impact would be phenomenal. Here are just a few things the church in America alone, not to say what the global church could do with this kind of money. The church in America could spend $25 billion of that money to relieve global hunger, starvation, and to alleviate preventable diseases in just 5 years. $12 billion could then go to eliminate illiteracy in 5 years, and $15 billion could solve the world's water and sanitation issues, specifically at places in the world where 1 billion people live on less than $1 a day. $1 billion could fully fund all overseas mission work. Imagine missionaries not having to worry about coming over to the United States every few years just to raise money. I mean, think how much time they have to waste just trying to raise money instead of doing the mission work. The mission work is where the effectiveness happens, not wasting time coming back here and then spending a year doing a tour of churches just so they can raise a really meager sum to then go back and do the work. Why not just stay there, do the work? 1 billion could go to that and they would be all fully funded, maybe even expand it. That's a big trade-off we're making by not giving 10%. That means there's an extra $100 to $110 billion left over for just additional ministry or expansion. I mean, that's a crazy, mind-blowing amount of money. That's just extra. After we did everything else, that would just be left over. I mean, imagine the possibilities of things that could happen. That is nuts. It's crazy we, as the church in America, are just sitting on this kind of a resource and are yet getting beat by every other lame ideology under the sun. I mean, 100 to 110 billion extra dollars, just bonus money, to address and fund Christians to do ministry, and who knows how many unknown areas yet to be created because we simply just don't give 10%. I mean, use your imagination. What could we do with 110 billion extra dollars? It's really unbelievable to think about. But we need to first wake up and start talking about money and how we as Christians are using it. The trade-off of squandering what we have been given is a cost too great to bear. Ask yourself, are you part of the 5% who actually gives 10% or not? And if not, what could possibly be a good enough reason not to give at least 10%? you've got a better use for your 10%? Well, that's all for this episode, but if you like this episode, go ahead and subscribe and check out our other episodes as we address different issues in our world and bring you the truth of Christ in a post-truth culture. Grace and peace, brothers and sisters. Beet juice. Love it. Beets is where it's at, guys. Beets. Let's see if a zoom camera. Boom! There it is.